Fear of the Dawn was my most anticipated album of the entire year, of course. This is the 4th solo album from Jack White, who is my favorite musician of all time. The White Stripes are one of my favorite bands ever. I love the Raconteurs. I really like the Dead Weather, and I've really enjoyed most of his solo work here, and this album I just knew I was gonna love because when Taking Me Back came out, I fell in love with that song, and I've really enjoyed all the singles, and I'm so happy to say that this album is absolutely fantastic. So for some background information for those who don't know, I love every single thing the White Stripes have done, every single one of their songs. I think I really like. I think everything that the Raconteurs have done, not as much as the White Stripes, and then the Dead Weather is a band that I've listened to most of their stuff, but not all, and I've listened to all of Jack's previous albums a few times, but today I went back and listened to them all again just so I could preface it for a future ranking that's coming, and I mean it when I say this might just be the best one. I've listened to Blunderbuss the most, yeah, I'm saying that right, I think, and I really love that album. It falls off a little bit at the end, but it has some of my favorite songs that Jack has ever done, and then Lazaretto was my favorite of his and might still be. I kind of going back and forth on this one and that one. I'll have to give this one a few more listens before I make that ranking, but that album is phenomenal. And then Boarding House Reach really declined. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I still liked it. I just think it is definitely the weakest album I've heard from all of Jack's projects. But Fear of the Dawn has 12 tracks on it. It is 40 minutes long. The longest track here is 4 minutes and 41 seconds, and the shortest is 30 seconds. Plus, some interesting facts are that his daughter played bass on either a song or some of the songs, I'm not sure which ones, and it is also dedicated to his son. So I found that interesting. I saw that post on Instagram earlier today, and I listened to all the singles before they came out here, and I have reactions for I think most of them. Yeah, Taking Me Back, I have one, Fear of the Dawn, and if you're on my Patreon, you can see my reaction to Heidi Ho for the first time, and then I also reacted to Love is Selfish, but that's on Entering Heaven Alive, not this one. And in this video, I just really want to talk about it track by track, as well as the album as a whole. So, as I said, this album is fantastic, especially sonically. Now, everybody knows Jack White is super famous for using old gear and all this, and distortion and stuff, and I swear, this man finds a new way to crank up his distortion even more on every single project he releases. I mean, everything is so fuzzed out here, but in the best way possible. Although it's not on every single track, there are some tracks here that do slow down towards the middle, and that's when the album can derail a little bit and lose me just the tiniest bit. And it's not that I don't like the songs, I do, but they just aren't as strong as some of the other ones, because I think this features some of, if not Jack's best solo songs. I mean, some of the lyrics here I'll talk about more in depth later really got me, and the riffs, oh my god, the riffs are so good. I'm a riff lover, obviously. I'm a big metal fan, but also Jack White has written some of the best riffs of all time, and I don't just mean Seven Nation Army, obviously. I mean Blue Orchid. It's my favorite riff of all time, so of course I am a little bit biased, but who cares? But Jack recorded most of the instruments here, which I always think is really interesting. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure that he did all the drumming here, and it reminds me a ton of the Dead Weather, especially their first album, because Jack had to, because of his voice, kind of take a step back, and he played drums on a lot of that, and you can hear his style here, and I really enjoy it. It's very unique, just like Meg's. It's very unique, and I really appreciate it. And if it's not him drumming it, I'm totally wrong. Well, then someone did a really good job recreating it. And of course, his guitar, not just the guitar riffs, but his guitar melodies and the mini solos here sound so cool. The effects are just crazy. The Digitech Whammy pedal, you can tell, is in full effect, as well as all his third man pedals. There's just the guitar. There's something about him as a guitarist that for me feels really inspiring, because I am a guitarist myself and I know how to play a lot of his songs, and he just always finds a new way to inspire me. And when I listen to the album, I mean, the aesthetic is there. It's called Fear of the Dawn, and it really reminds you of something you would use to wake yourself up in the morning when it's really early in the morning. I know it's dawn and all that, but there's just this mystical kind of foggy feeling throughout a lot of it that, I don't know, it just really like hit home and kind of resonated with me. But anyway, let's talk about the tracks individually because I know a lot of you are here just for that. First, it starts off with Taking Me Back, and this is easily the biggest song from the album because it was the first single and it was paired with Call of Duty Vanguard or whatever that one is called. So a lot of people heard that and a lot of people love it, myself included. It is easily still in my top 3 of the album. I'll talk about the other 2 later on. I love this song. I love that riff. It is easily one of Jack's best riffs, not just in his solo career, but of all. And this song is followed by Fear of the Dawn. Now, this is the song. And when I first heard this song, you can see my reaction. I liked it, but I was a little skeptical. I didn't love it, but there's just something about the way it was paired with Taking Me Back that worked so well. I mean, I don't know what it was, but when I listened to it again, I loved it. Like, I genuinely, when I heard it, I was like, okay, this is good, but, you know, he could do better. And then I heard it in the context of the album, and I was like, this is fantastic. Plus, the transition between these first 2 songs is seamless. They feel like one song here, and it's just like, I don't know, there's so much of the song that really gets stuck in your head. And then that is followed by The White Raven, which is like the coolest name for a song ever. I mean, for some reason, anytime you mention a raven, I'm instantly interested in it. I just think probably because of the whole like theories and all that behind it and how it always means something. I always find that interesting here. But this song for me was like a super easy listen, but in a good way. I don't mean that as an insult. I think that, of course, Jack found a new way, as I said before, to really crank up his distortion, but this is a prime example of how he just continues to bang out these songs. Now, Heidi Ho is one that I'm not really sure what people think about it right now. It has like a star on Apple Music, but that's just because it was a single, so it was released before, so more people listen to it. This song is very reminiscent of David Bowie's Berlin Trilogy. Obviously, I feel like a lot of you know that Bowie's my favorite solo artist. As I said, Jack White is my favorite like musician of all because of all of his projects, but Bowie is my favorite solo artist, and the Berlin Trilogy, some of my favorite albums are on there, but this song really reminds me of some of the stuff on Heroes. You could say Low as well, but especially Heroes. It reminds me of a lot of the stuff on here, and I don't know if it was Jack singing, although there are times where it sounds like him, but I know he used a lot of samples in a lot of the songs here. So whoever's vocals are on this track are incredible, and this song features Q-Tip, which is like, I don't know much about him. I actually didn't know anything about him before this, and the mix of the song, kind of like the transition into his rap verse, is different and maybe a little bit off-putting, and I feel like the whole kind of grand vocal sound really fits well with the album, but maybe a little bit later on. Now, this is just a very small thing. I can definitely listen to the song, and I definitely like it. It's not like a song that I'm like, oh, what is this? But it's just like so random, I guess, for the album, so it kind of is where it starts to get a little bit too weird for me, but not like to the point where I have to skip it. I don't feel like I have to skip any of the songs on here. This one can be a little bit iffy though. And then this next one, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, and I have to say it at least twice in this video. That is Essophobia, whatever, which means Fear of the Dawn, which is pretty cool. And this song is very repetitive, but not exactly in a bad way, although it is the longest song in here. It's 4 minutes and 41 seconds, so there'll be times where you're like, okay, you know, we've heard the same thing over and over again, but there's little things in there, like the little guitar parts and the delay on the vocals and also the guitar, which really kind of fit together nice. Normally you don't hear delay on vocals when it's already on the guitar, at least I haven't found that in some of the music I listen to, so it sounded nice here. And there's like these little high-pitched screams from Jack that are all throughout the album, and here they're probably the most prominent besides the title track. And I just think that the quick patterns of notes are joyful almost. That's kind of the word I use to describe it in my notes here. Although this, again, is not one of my favorite songs from the album, it's still good. It's just on the weaker side. And then that's followed up by Into the Twilight, and the drumming is so unique here. This is again where I really felt like the Dead Weather come back, and I cut like a buffalo, kind of that style of drumming I really felt on this one. And there's tons of repetition again. I feel like a lot of these songs are paired nicely with one another, because this is another song that that uses a ton of repetition, and some people won't like it, some people will hate it, some people will love it. So again, obviously it's all just kind of personal taste, but for me, this one worked more than the one before it, and I like the sampling and stuff, but I can also see why people won't love these tracks. And then we have Dusk, which is a cool little like 30-second instrumental, and it kind of just like brings you back into the feeling that we had before. It kind of wraps up that, I guess, kind of mini trilogy like within the album of just like different songs, and kind of brings you back and leads you into What's the Trick, which again, you get back into like the hard rocking stuff, which I love. And What's the Trick is kind of like, again, the return to the headbanging, as I wrote here in my notes. And Jack like half sings and half speaks on this song, but it works. I mean, he typically does that when they do little breakdowns in some of the White Stripes songs, and it's like not the same as like the Union Forever breakdown, there is a man, a certain man, that kind of thing. I don't know, it's just like this different style, but Jack pulls it off. He sometimes will do it live too, and for me it always works, although I could never see another artist doing it. At least not in the way that Jack does. The guitar pierces through the mix here because you have the bass, just like this deep kind of cool bass sound right at the middle, but then you have like the main distorted riff. This is to my right, no, it's to your left, but to the right channel, and then you have like this higher pitched lead sound, you could call it, in the left speaker, and then it all kind of comes together by the end. And I'm just like, that's how you do it. That's how you spread out your mix and just do it properly. I mean, take it from Jack. This guy always knows how to mix his stuff perfectly. Also, like at the 3-minute, like 3:05-minute mark, my brain felt like it just melted out of my head because of just the coolness of that heavy riff, but like not heavy in like a metal type way, just heavy in a Jack White type way. Staying on track with the distortion, we have That Was Then, This Is Now, and again, I love this one. I felt like the first two songs really paired together nicely, but so did this one and the song before it, and I actually prefer this one a little bit to that last song. There are so many great songs. I mean, I like all the songs, but there are some really great songs on here, and we aren't even at my absolute favorites yet, but I don't know, there's something so cool about this one, the way it's mixed, that the drums are like quieter but still noticeable, but then the guitar and bass kind of like take over for it rhythmically, if that makes sense to everyone listening. Now I'm definitely gonna mess this up again, but Essophobia, this is the reprise of this, and this one opens with like this groovy drum beat that almost feels like two drummers. I don't know if it was Jack and he's like, okay, I'm gonna record this and then dub it over with this. It's really cool. And then these very like quick ascending and descending notes come in, which is like some of the fastest playing I've heard from Jack, but it sounds really cool. I feel like seeing this one live will be really awesome because obviously Jack will have a different drummer, but it'll be so cool kind of hearing him play in Jack's style, and because it's so unique, I'm just really interested. Also, I think this reprise is better than the first one. There's just something more intriguing and interesting about this one, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is this one better or is the first one better? With a simple walking bass line and almost basic drum pattern here, we have another song that really makes you feel like you're watching the sunrise. This is Morning, Noon, and Night. I think I said that right. I keep messing it up for some reason, but this song really felt so special to me because you have little details here, like there's a very quiet piano hiding in the left channel, left speaker, whatever you want to call it, and it's little details like that that really add to this song. And honestly, the whole album really will have that. When I listen to it more and more, I know I'll catch on to things like that. The overall melody of this song really just stuck with me, and I actually like felt something in my chest while listening to this one, and if that isn't a sign of great music and somebody doing something right, I don't know what is. But possibly my favorite song on the album is the final track, Shedding My Velvet. Now this one, you can tell by the title, is going to be more emotional, but the second it started, it had like this mystical and dreamy opening, which was I think 50 seconds long, or 55 seconds long, I wrote down, and then these like crashing drums come in, but it's the lyrics of this song that really got to me, the final lyrics too. I'll read them right at the end when I'm done talking about this song, but I really interpreted this song as kind of being true to yourself, obviously shedding your velvet or my velvet, whatever you want to say, and just becoming yourself. And I think that's kind of just been shown all throughout Jack's career. So hearing it here at the end of his 4th solo album, when he's done the White Stripes, the Raccoon Tours, the Dead Weather, and his solo stuff, there's just something fascinating about it, and that he's been doing this for over 20 years, and still you feel so emotional listening to that stuff, at least I do. The final lyrics of the album are as follows: "Better to illuminate than merely to shine. You say this all the time, and you're right." And this is played right when I think the first acoustic guitar of the entire album comes in and perfectly ends it off. I absolutely adored this album. Fear of the Dawn is the most experimental but fascinating new album I've listened to in quite some time. Jack White's skills have aged like fine wine because he's able to bring some powerful riffs but also still manages to slow it down in an intriguing way. The middle section feels detached from the beginning and end of the album, but nothing feels worth skipping here. The aesthetic of the album is perfectly rounded in the end when the acoustic guitar comes in for the first time to send us home. I'm going to give Fear of the Dawn a 4.5 out of 5. Again, this might just be my favorite one. I don't know. It's between this and Lazaretto right now. I'll give it a few more listens before I make a ranking of Jack White's solo albums. And then when Entering Heaven Alive comes out, I'll rank every single Jack White album. So all the stuff from his other bands as well as this. But I thought, how do I make it different, not make the same video twice? Well, I'll just rank the solo albums, go into more detail about them, and I might maybe do a tier list of all the songs here, but if I do, it'll probably go on my Patreon, so if you're interested, sign up for that down below, and you can also check out that reaction to Heidi Ho, and make sure to go back and watch my reactions to the other songs if you're interested, because they're still really fun, and let me know what you thought of this album. Where does it rank amongst his other solo ones, or just everything overall? Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.